Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another chalkboard chat. My name is Henry, and here we discuss everything teaching and all in support of teachers. And yesterday I spoke about admin, how to do grading efficiently. And today I wanted to discuss lesson planning because admin takes a lot of time. And if we're not careful, it takes up so much of our free time that we become very resentful of school, of our jobs, that we have to put so much time in. Now, we don't have to do anything, but in order for us to have a sense of, pride and completion and a sense that we're doing a good job, we want to put some time and effort into the grading and into the lesson planning. But if you're not careful, like I was in the beginning, you can spend all of your time lesson planning. When I first started, almost 10 years ago now, I would have 3 hour classes and I would spend 3 hours lesson planning. I It took me a very long time to get the hang of it, and still I would then, for a 2 hour class, spend 1 hour lesson planning. And at some point, I realized this is too much. This is way too much. I spend most of my free time thinking about what to teach. And it was only when I got certified as a life coach that I realized that all the time management skills that I was learning through the certification, I could also apply to lesson planning. I was like, wait a second. There's some truth to, if you give yourself a day, you will take a day to do a task. If you give yourself a week to decide something, you will take that whole week. And I realized that one of the things that I really wanted to work on was finding out a way, a method to condense my lesson planning without feeling that I did a bad job. Because a while ago, years ago, I was convinced that I had to put in a lot of time for lesson planning because it meant that I was a better teacher, because it meant that the quality of my lesson was better. And at some point, I realized that's not true. You can have an amazing lesson based on only a couple of minutes of lesson planning, but also you have spent hours and hours of lesson planning and it can completely bomb. And I was like, I did this. No, we're not doing this anymore. So I took it upon myself to really figure out what is happening during the lesson planning. Why does it take me so long? And here's what I found. When I sit down, I have to do the past tense actually, because this is not true anymore. When I sat down for lesson planning, I would always have this idea of that I didn't know what to do best, that the answer was somewhere out there. So I would go on all these amazing teacher built websites with all the activities and then would do research. I would spend most of my time just researching activities and completely getting lost in all the activities, finding some activities, deciding that I was going to use those, then looking back at the syllabus and be like, wait a minute, that doesn't fit. Those two don't really connect. All right, letting go of those activities, looking at the syllabus, then trying to come up with some myself. Again, judging that I was not really an expert on it, putting the syllabus to the side and going back to the websites. Now you can see how this was like a roundabout way. And also, I realized how much, with the thoughts that you have and the feelings and the actions that you then do, how insecure I was about my teaching skills, about my teaching abilities. So when I wanted to tackle that, that was like one of the first things that I had to decide for myself, deciding that I was a good teacher. I was like, listen, I'm a great teacher. Some of my students have said that I was their favorite teacher. That is all I need. I don't need to be the best teacher. I don't need to be the most creative or the most amazing. I get to be a good teacher, and that is good enough for me. So when that belief grew, the more it grew, the more I believed that that was true, the more creative I became with activities. I would kind of improvise and do like spontaneous things with my activities. Half of them were amazing, half of them flopped and bombed. But the ones that were amazing, I opened up my repertoire, I grew my list of activities that I could do, and I grew my confidence again because I was like, listen, I came up with this activity, the students love it, I love it, it goes well, everybody learns, everybody's happy. So that was the first thing that I needed to address, was the belief that I am a good teacher, the belief that I was good enough to put together a lesson in a shorter amount of time. So the first thing that I now do is I look at the syllabus and I decide what at the end of the lesson the student needs to be able to do. So they need to be able to produce this grammar point in a free practice sentence structure, something like that. And then I literally just backtrack. So I start at the end of the lesson and I say, this is the last activity. Then in order to do that activity, the free practice where they have to create their own sentences, for example, they have to do this one to practice doing that. That will lead into the last one. And then I backtrack. I also take 1 minute to make sure that I write down all the stages. So every school, every company has their own favorite method of teaching, and which makes my life so much easier because all I need to do is write down all the stages, look at the syllabus, and immediately just kind of like copy paste, flop down what activity would fit in each stage. Now, I haven't even looked at the book. So without even looking at the book, I may have finished half of the lesson plan already. Then, of course, the beginning stages are like classroom management, putting everybody welcome, lead in, warm up, all those things, a bit of a review. Then I'm almost over half, and I need to put in just a couple of more things. Then I might open the book and say, okay, what activities does the book offer? Now, sometimes the book offers decent activities that I just don't change. And I'm really like, look, we're going to do some book work. I have taken off the pressure that I need to take everything from the book and make it into this spectacular, amazing, fun activity. Um, I try to balance it out that sometimes we're doing amazing fun activities and sometimes we're just going to do some book work, take a pencil and fill in the gap. And I give myself a maximum amount of time. I say for a 2-hour class, I want to have everything done in 15 minutes. Now, that means that after 15 minutes, I have my slides ready and I have one Word document ready with everything like cut and pasted and typed in like little tables and stuff, that all I need to do is hit print and then I just can make some copies. And from 3 hours of a 3-hour lesson to 15 minutes, 2-hour classes, and it has become a really solid habit for me. It's become this routine where when I have multiple classes on one day, I just sit there and I just say, okay, for the next hour and a half, I'm just going to lesson plan. And because I have gotten so good at this habit, because I've gotten so good at staging everything for myself, I am rarely distracted. I do not really feel any hesitancy, or I don't drag myself through the lesson planning anymore. It's more like, oh, yes, let's do this real quick. Let's get this done. Let's get this efficient. Let's do this with like determination and optimism that I get to get this done in a short amount of time. I don't rush it. I don't wander. No, dawdle. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Don't dawdle, I think it is. But I get this really steady flow of next step, next step, next step. And it has saved so much time. Now I don't hesitate. I wouldn't say hesitate. I don't feel that sense of dread anymore, that I have to do some lesson planning. And it's not that I have to do lesson planning, but in the past I have done complete improv classes and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So for me to feel really good at the beginning of the lesson, I want to know exactly what I need to do. And I want to know, I want to have a stack of all the papers, everything printed, everything ready. And it gives me such a good feeling. And when I do, when I am fully prepared and I have everything ready on time, it makes me such a better teacher as well, because I am less stressed during the lesson. I am not panicked if something goes wrong, if some activity takes way too much time or it completely flops and bombs and it's awful. I'm not that worried. I'm like, but I have so many other things to do today. So that is how I lesson plan in a very efficient way. And I hope this really helps you. Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.